Skokie Board of Trustees. I am Pramod Shah, the Village of Skokie Clerk. Mayor is absent tonight, but will be returning to Skokie on Wednesday. Pursuant to Section 2-84 of the Village Code, in the event of a temporary absence of the mayor, the Board of Trustees shall elect one of its own members to fulfill the mayor's duties. At this time, I make a motion to appoint Trustee Ralph Klein to be Mayor Pro Temp for the duration of this meeting of August 17th, 2020, and executive session if one is called. Do I have a second? Trustee Gray Keeler. I will be calling the roll now. Trustee Roberts.
Aye.
Trustee Sutker.
Aye.
Trustee Ulrich.
Aye.
Trustee Bromberg.
Aye.
Trustee Gray Keeler.
Aye.
Motion passes.
At this time, I'd like to ask everybody to stand and to join our clerk as he leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Promote.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. I would also now like to ask our Corporation Counsel, Michael Lorch, to give us the new guidelines with which we are operating.
Until further notice, meetings of the Skokie Village Board will be held electronically, with the majority of the village officials participating via remote access in order to comply with the State of Illinois Gubernatorial Disaster Proclamation. Members of the public who wish to comment as to an item on the published agenda or to comment during public comments must submit their statement or written question in writing to the village manager's office, and all properly submitted statements or questions will be presented and read during the relevant portion of the meeting. Written comments may be submitted in one of three ways: by email to the address citizencomments@skokie.org, or by mail to Village of Skokie, Village Manager's Office, 5127 Oakton Street, Skokie, Illinois, 60077, or via the village's drop box located by the public entry to Village Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Lorch. Next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. I have been asked to remove item 6, a resolution, from the consent agenda. Is there anything else anybody would like removed from the consent agenda? If not, a motion would be in order. Trustee Bromberg, seconded by Trustee Ulrich. Mr. Shaw, would you take the roll, please?
Trustee Roberts.
Aye.
Trustee Sutker.
Aye.
Trustee Ulrich.
Aye.
Trustee Bromberg.
Aye.
Trustee Gray Keeler.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein.
I also vote aye. The motion passes. And now I would like to call on Trustee Randy Roberts regarding this resolution. Mr. Roberts?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Klein. I can't see you well, but you look good up there. During the past 2 weeks, we have commemorated the 75th anniversary of the dropping of 2 atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan, on August 6th and August 9th, of 1945. The second bomb left the city of Nagasaki in ruins and more than 150 people dead or injured. Recently, the Chicago Tribune printed a letter from the mayor of Nagasaki to Illinois residents and to the world appealing for help in ratifying the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons that has been passed by the United Nations. What struck me about the mayor's statement is that he wrote it saying that his city was not making this appeal as past victims, but as global citizens who live in a world where the danger of nuclear weapons is very real. I'd like to read the Skokie Resolution now for the board. Whereas the 9 nations together have over 14,000 nuclear weapons in their arsenals, most far more destructive than the 2 that killed hundreds of thousands in Japan in 1945. And whereas the use of these weapons would have catastrophic human and environmental consequences with far-reaching, unimaginable consequences for mankind and for our planet. And whereas, as the effects of climate change and political ideology place increased stress on communities around the world and seemingly intensify the possibility of armed conflict, and whereas there is an alternative to nuclear war under discussion among world leaders, namely the United Nations Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. There are currently 79 countries that are signatories to this treaty, and 33 nations have ratified it. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Skokie, Cook County, Illinois, urges the United States government to debate and to ratify the United Nations Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, and to make global nuclear disarmament a centerpiece of our national security policy. The mayor of Nagasaki's letter explained that the atomic bomb cities bear the important responsibility of passing on their legacies, which humanity must never forget. To this end, the city of Nagasaki designates individuals as Nagasaki Peace Correspondents to build bridges of peace between the United States and Japan. We are honored to have one of only 2 peace correspondents in Illinois with us tonight. I would like to introduce Dr. Hiro Miyazaki. Dr. Miyazaki is a professor of anthropology at Northwestern University and lives with his family in Evanston. Dr. Miyazaki, would you care to share some comments with us tonight about the resolution?
Thank you, Trustee Roberts, for the kind introduction. Like Trustee Roberts has said, I'm Hiro Miyazaki, a professor of anthropology at Northwestern University. I'm also serving as a peace correspondent for Nagasaki, an official designation granted by the mayor of Nagasaki. Thank you all for inviting me to speak in support of your resolution to call on the United States Senate to ratify the United Nations Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. In August 1945, 75 years ago, atomic bombs were detonated over the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Over 200,000 lives were lost in these cities that year. And those who survived the bombings have also suffered a variety of health effects from radiation exposure. Nuclear weapons are inhumane weapons. When they are used, they produce catastrophic effects. They also produce long-term effects on human health and the environment. Even if they are not used, their sheer existence deepens our mutual distrust by promoting the idea that threats to use these weapons are necessary for world peace. As Tomihisa Taue, mayor of Nagasaki, recently noted in his opinion piece published in the Chicago Tribune, it is important to make efforts toward creating a culture of peace, where we resolve issues not through violence or threats, but through sympathy, dialogue, and putting ourselves in one another's shoes. In his view, this requires all of us, not just state actors, but also cities, towns, villages, and ordinary citizens like us to work together. Today, more and more citizens in the two countries are united on the need to work together toward a world without nuclear weapons. If this resolution is passed, the village of Skokie will join 44 other U.S. cities and towns that have passed similar resolutions to call on the United States Congress to join the Treaty on the Prohibition on Nuclear Weapons, including the city of Evanston, where I reside. These resolutions are not simply symbolic. They represent the will of ordinary citizens like us, who could be victims of nuclear warfare, and who believe peace can be achieved without the use or even possession of nuclear weapons. These resolutions are small and yet powerful concrete steps toward that peace. In solidarity with survivors of atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and also victims of nuclear weapons testing in this country, Marshall Islands, and elsewhere, I humbly ask the Skokie Village Board to pass this resolution unanimously. Thank you very much, and thank you again for inviting me to be with you today.
Thank you, Doctor. Does anybody have any questions for the doctor at this time? If not, there is a motion made by Trustee Roberts to accept the resolution. May I have a second, please? Let the record reflect that all trustees, including the Mayor Pro Tem, have seconded this motion. Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Trustee Roberts,
Absolutely, aye.
Trustee Sutker,
Aye.
Trustee Ulrich,
Aye.
Trustee Bromberg, Trustee Greg Keeler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I also vote aye. Thank you once again, Doctor, for taking time to be with us.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, Doctor.
Wonderful.
And we have, on our consent agenda, there was one item that we had taken care of. Keith Robinson has been appointed to the Planning Commission. So we want to congratulate him and wish him a lot of luck. Yes. Oh. Unanimous? Yeah, just for the record, we do want to state that the motion made by Trustee Roberts was passed unanimously. So thank you. Next on our agenda is our village manager report. Mr. Lockerbie.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Klein. Item A is regarding the Community Development Block Grant CARES Act Residential Financial Assistance Program. The village's CDBG Residential Financial Assistance Program began with a request for proposals for entities that can assist with qualifying low and moderate income Skokie households for rent, mortgage, and/or utility payment support. 2 proposals were submitted. As a reminder, the village of Skokie is designated an entitlement community, which enables us to receive CDBG funding. This designation is achieved by the size of our population. There are approximately 46 entitlement communities and counties in the state of Illinois, as well as the state of Illinois itself. Per the parameters in the CDBG plan, substantial plan amendment approved on June 15th of 2020, $100,000 is allocated for this initiative. Connections for the Homeless has extensive experience facilitating housing financial assistance payments for low and moderate income individuals and households, and has the ability to identify other funding sources if any Skokie household is deemed ineligible for this CDBG specific funding. Access to resources to avoid a duplication of payments on behalf of the same household and process payments directly to the landlord, mortgage lender, and/or utility provider as applicable. The Human Services staff will serve as a portal to the application process. An estimated 30 to 40 households are expected to receive financial support so they can stay in their homes. Carrie Haberstich, our CDBG administrator, is with us this evening and has been the lead on this initiative. I concur with staff's recommendation and respectfully request mayor and board approval to award funding in the amount of $100,000 to Connections for the Homeless.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Commissioner Sucker, second. Before we ask for a vote, does anybody have any questions or would like to hear from Carrie Haberstich? Trustee Roberts. I'm pointing like you can see me.
Thank you, Carrie. I just was a little bit confused by the report. I was hoping maybe you could clarify just a little bit. So there were two proposals, one from Connection for the Homeless and then one from the Village of Skokie.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so do I understand correctly that the one that was selected was the Connection for the Homeless and not the village, or were both selected, or what? How did it work? If you could just explain, please.
Just trying to coordinate the two applications to see what our recommendation would be. Connections for the Homeless, as mentioned earlier, they have extensive experience with processing these types of applications, like they do it on a daily basis. And they also have access to other options should a household not be eligible for this specific CARES Act program through the village. And they would also, they have the ability to be like the banker for this program as well. And Human Services, they have a grant to support their staff currently. Again, to avoid a duplication of benefits or payments to similar activities for staff, we thought it would be most straightforward and easier to have HUD review should they monitor this program in the future, that Connections for the Homeless have the full funding amount and Human Services would provide a supporting role.
Well, Carrie, could you, it seemed like one of the advantages of the connection also was there's multiple programs, right, at the state, county, and even our local level to fund rental assistance, which, I'm happy to see. I still don't think it will be enough based on the need out there, but so when a Skokie resident would apply, they would help navigate, they have their computer system and they would navigate all the different potential rental assistance programs, state, county, and local, and then help the Skokie resident figure out what's best. Is that kind of how it works?
Yes, or if the resident might not meet certain eligibility standards for our program, they could look at those other funding options and provide the ability to support that household with the same application. Like they'd kind of use a universal application for those various housing support programs.
And just a final comment, I feel really good about this. I feel that our partnership with Connections for the Homeless is already strong. They have a house, 2 flat in Skokie, and they already help many people rent apartments in Skokie. And I think this will strengthen our partnership. And it, rather than every village having their own agency or organization, the fact that we can partner with Evanston and share this resource and actually make it stronger, I think is a really good example of working together.
Thank you, Trustee Roberts. Does anybody else have any questions for Carrie? Okay. Carrie, thank you
All
for
right,
coming
thank
out.
you.
I do
Thank you.
appreciate your
Thanks.
time. Okay, we have a motion. Do I, yes, I did have a motion and a second. Would the clerk take the roll, please?
Trustee Roberts,
Aye.
trustee Sutker,
Aye.
trustee Ulrich,
Aye.
trustee Bromberg,
Aye.
trustee Gray Keeler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein.
Aye. Also vote aye. John?
Items B and C were approved as part of the consent agenda this evening, and that completes my report.
Thank you so much. Next on our agenda is our report of our Corporation Counsel, Michael Lorch. Mr. Lorch.
Thank you, trustees and everyone who is in the room, good evening. To everyone watching, good evening. I'm joined tonight by Assistant Corporation Counsel Barbara Mangler. Item A is an ordinance which was on the consent agenda at the beginning of this evening's meeting, and it was adopted at that time. Item B is an ordinance on the agenda for first reading tonight. This ordinance will accept and approve a plat of dedication for a triangular portion of property measuring 7 feet by 11 feet by slightly over 14 feet at a location of 7401 Lincoln Avenue. This dedication, or this dedicated property, will place the existing public sidewalk within the Lincoln Avenue right-of-way. The dedication was made to the Village of Skokie without any financial compensation for the land. Unless there are any questions, this matter will be on the September 8th, 2020 agenda for second reading and adoption.
Thank you, sir.
Item C is on the agenda and is a request for an executive session in accordance with paragraph 2C6 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act pertaining to the acquisition and disposition of land. I would request board action on this request.
Thank you. I have a motion, please. Trustee Bromberg, seconded by trustee Gray Keeler. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Roberts,
Aye.
trustee Sutker,
Aye.
trustee Ulrich,
Aye.
trustee Bromberg,
Aye.
trustee Gray Keeler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein.
I vote aye. The motion passes.
That concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda, excuse me one sec, is the Planning Commission, and our chairman, Paul Luke, is here. Paul? And can you please present your report on case 2020-09P, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Temp, and good evening, members of the board. Tonight's case, as the Mayor Pro Temp has said, is 2020-09P. This is a street dedication on Lauderdale Avenue. At the July 16th meeting of the Plan Commission, we reviewed a request of the Village of Skokie for the vacation of an unimproved portion of Lawndale Avenue north of Dempster Street and south of the line drawn 2 feet south and parallel to the south line of the east-west alley north of Dempster Street in the B2 Commercial District. The street is not a public thoroughfare and functions as an extension of a public parking lot to the east. The subject site contains an asphalt paved parking lot, curbing, light poles, a public sidewalk, landscaping, a tree, and a wooden fence. Above-ground electrical utility equipment is present at the north end of the subject site. A catch basin and a portion of a 10-foot combined sewer main exists within the north end of the subject site as well. The village desires to vacate the street in order to combine it with the remainder of the public parking lot and a new lot of a 2-lot subdivision in corresponding case 2020-10P. The portion of Lawndale Avenue is identified in Chapter 5 of the village's comprehensive plan and being as a potential street to be vacated. Plan Commission concurs with the staff's recommendation to grant the vacation subject to conditions.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody have any questions for Paul? And let the record reflect we are being joined by Matt Brandmeier, who is head of our Community Development Department. Welcome, Matt. Is there any questions? I'm sorry. If there is not, Chair will entertain a motion. Anybody make a motion? Trustee Roberts, seconded by Trustee Gray Keeler. Would the clerk take the roll, please?
Trustee Roberts,
Aye.
Trustee Sutker,
Aye.
Trustee Ulrich,
Aye.
Trustee Bromberg,
Aye.
Trustee Gray Keeler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein.
Aye, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is case 2020-10P. Mr. Luke?
This is a subdivision request at 8822 East Prairie Road and 3650 Dempster Street. Also at the July 16th meeting of the Plan Commission, we reviewed the case of the Skokie Valley Aguduth Jacob Synagogue and Village of Skokie to re-subdivide 10 existing lots and vacate Lawndale Avenue into 2 lots in a B2 commercial zoning district. Lot 1 will contain the existing playground and parking lot for the Skokie Valley Synagogue. Lot 2 will contain the existing public parking, which also occupies a portion of Lawndale Avenue and is being vacated in companion case 2020-09P. The subdivision will include an 18-foot wide right-of-way dedication between the 2 lots in order to place the existing improved alley within the parking right-of-way. The alley is occupied presently spans both synagogue and the village-owned properties. No physical changes are being made with either the lots or the alley at this time. Plan Commission concurs with the staff's recommendation to grant the subdivision approval to all the conditions.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody have any questions on case 2020-10P? If not, Chair will entertain a motion. Motion, Trustee Ulrich, seconded by Trustee Setker. Clerk, Mr. Shaw, would you take the roll, please?
Trustee Roberts,
Aye.
Trustee Sutker,
Aye.
Trustee Ulrich,
Aye.
Trustee Bromberg,
Aye.
Trustee Gray Keeler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein.
Aye, the motion passes. And I would like to ask at this time, has anybody electronically made any inquiries regarding these 2 cases?
Therefore, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. Okay, last item on our agenda before we adjourn is citizen comments. Have we received any public comments?
We have.
Mr. Lockerbie?
Thank you. Katie McKinney has sent in the following. Hello. I believe Mayor Van Duzen has signed Barack Obama's mayor's pledge committing to the following 4 actions involving our police department. 1. Review your police use of force policies. 2. Engage your communities by including a diverse range of input, experiences, and stories in your review. 3. Report the findings of your review to your community and seek feedback. 4. Reform your community's police use of force policies. I have not seen the signing of this pledge acknowledged or promoted in the village's communications. What is the timeline for completing these 4 actions? When can the community expect to hear the results of this review? Citizens are eager to work with the village to improve our relationships with police officers while also increasing police accountability and transparency. Warmly concerned citizen Katie McKinney. So Mayor Van Duzen took the Obama Foundation's Reimagining Policing pledge. This was announced at the vigil conducted in June and will continue to be promoted through the village's communications. The village has a practice of annually reviewing our police department's use of force policy. We are embarking on that annual review. In addition to the normal review process, the village's Public Safety Commission will be involved in the review this year. The commission includes 23 Skokie residents who serve as volunteers on this commission. I should mention that the village's use of force policy has been recognized through the accreditation process as meeting or exceeding accreditation standards. I should note that although unfortunate incidents have occurred across the country, our police department regularly provides opportunities for individuals to register complaints. For example, in the past, the police department hosted The Procedural Justice for Communities, a Dialogue to Change, where both police officers and community members participated together. All of our police department policies are reviewed regularly for our accreditation process. Another component of accreditation is providing multiple opportunities for people to provide feedback regarding the police department to an independent third party. This feedback can be provided through a number of means, including in-person, electronic, or telephonic. One of the items mentioned is an interest in working with police. I do encourage individuals that are interested in working with the police in a closer fashion that the village offers a block watch program. And if your block does not have an existing block watch, please contact the Crime Prevention Bureau in our police department. And we would very much enjoy working with your block, and the police department finds great value in that program. In addition, the village is fortunate to have a beat officer program. The village and police department believes in partnering with the community. The village has a beat program where a particular police officer establishes a working relationship with a geographic area, or commonly referred to as a beat. A patrol beat is assigned to a police unit. One or more police officers are responsible for a beat during their shift and are the primary responding officers within that area. We have 8 beats within Skokie. If residents are interested in meeting with their beat officer or sharing information about their neighborhood, they are encouraged to contact their beat officer. This contact information is available through our village's website. Are there additional citizen comments that have been received? That completes the citizen comments for this evening.
Thank you, sir. I want to thank Barb Mangler, Gary Haberstich, Paul Luke, and Chief Scarpelli for coming out tonight. And I would like a motion to retire to executive session. Trustee Bromberg.
I make a motion to adjourn to executive session.
We are adjourned then. Thank you all.